Did MAGA Mike just admit that Trump has a political problem ahead of the midterms? I think he did.
We are starting to see the historic success reflected in tremendous polls. We have great polls. In last week's Rasmussen poll, we're leading among Hispanic voters. We're leading by a lot. Nobody's ever seen a Republican lead among Hispanic voters. You know, Hispanic voters don't want crime. People don't realize that. Hispanic voters want strong voters because they know what's coming in and they don't want them. They're great. They've been great. We did so great in the election with Hispanic voters.
We got a little hiccup with some of the Hispanic and Latino voters for certain because some of the immigration enforcement was viewed to be overzealous.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
You see, one of the most dangerous moments for any administration is when its own leaders begin admitting that there is a problem. And that's exactly what happened this week with House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaking at a Republican policy retreat instead of working, Johnson acknowledged that the GOP has had what he called a little hiccup with Hispanic voters because immigration enforcement actions were seen as overzealous. Overzealous. Right. Nice to see that Saint Mike is choosing his words carefully when describing actions so horrific that Trump himself opted to fire his head of Homeland Security and the rest of the cosplay bigots because of it.
But there were some significant reversals of Trump's gains with Hispanic populations in New Jersey. Are you at all concerned about Republicans retaining those voters in the next midterm election?
No, I do believe that the demographic shift that we were able to see and experience in the 2024 election will hold. I believe that the large numbers of those new voters and these demographics that have not traditionally been with the Republican Party are with us. We got a little hiccup with some of the Hispanic and Latino voters for certain because some of the immigration enforcement was viewed to be overzealous, and you know everybody can describe it differently. But here's the good news: we're in a course correction mode right now. We're going to have a new Secretary of Homeland Security. Mark Wayne Mullen is going to be do a great job in that role. I'm sure that he'll be confirmed by the Senate. He's a thoughtful guy. He'll bring a thoughtful approach. You have somebody like Tom Homan, who has 40 years experience in the field and was decorated by former Democrat presidents for his acumen and expertise. And he went into Minneapolis and brought calm to the chaos there. That's what you're going to see.
Now, here's the thing. The significance of Johnson's admission becomes clear when you look at the numbers, right? Hispanic voters were one of the most surprising parts of Trump's 2024 coalition, helping him win back the White House. But these overzealous immigration enforcement tactics have begun eroding that support. Polling and political analysis shows growing dissatisfaction among Hispanic voters with the administration's immigration strategy, with many saying that the tactics go too far. Now, Johnson clearly tried to soften the impact of his remarks by saying that the party is now in course correction mode. But that sounds to me like you're admitting that you effed up and it may be too late to fix what you're about to find out. I mean, he's out here arguing that Republicans will adjust messaging and leadership at the Department of Homeland Security in order to reassure Hispanic voters that the party, quote, cares about them. But just the sole fact that the Speaker of the House is talking about course correction tells you something important. Course corrections only happen when the original strategy isn't working. And this comes as Trump and the White House are out here denying that there was a message sent to GOP representatives to stop discussing mass deportations, which was, you know, a focal point of his run for president. But right now, well, the immigration crackdown that was supposed to energize Trump's coalition appears to be creating new political vulnerabilities. The real danger for Trump, though, is not just losing some support. It's losing support from exactly the voters who helped deliver his victory. And not to forget that he's also bleeding support with other key groups that helped him get back into power. As CNN's Harry Enton pointed out, non-college educated white voters, his support among that group is dwindling. Independents, hell, even farmers are struggling to swallow the snake oil these days.
There's been some predictions that fertilizer will go up another $100 a ton on top of losing money as it is. So it's really sad that the farming has got to the point where we're losing money to even be doing it. And then with things going on like it is, there's so much uncertainty.
We're used to dealing with markets going up and down, but when we see such a large increase in such a short span of time is what really makes it harder to deal with.
We have a lot on the line from day to day, and at nighttime, sometimes it can be hard to sleep.
A lot of guys have just said, I'm done. We're going to quit. They're hanging it up. There's sales everywhere. Lots and lots of farm sales. Financially, it's causing a lot of mental health problems as well.
And listen, it's not just polling. We're already seeing the impact of this in special elections across the country. In Texas, Pennsylvania, even those who decided that Marjorie Taylor Greene would be the best fit to represent them in Washington are considering the Democratic option this time around to fill her seat.
I would say the word to describe it for Democrats, tremendous turnout. I mean, woof! Texas Democratic Senate primary turnout, the highest ever was this primary. We're already up to 2.3 million, and that's only with 92% of the estimated voting. That will climb ever higher. The 2000s average was less than 1 million. They've more than doubled the average turnout for Texas Senate Democratic primaries. The Democrats came out and voted. This beats the old record, which was 2.2 million, and that was in a presidential primary year between Obama and Clinton, and this beat it. Democrats really enthusiastic. As I said, the word to describe this is tremendous.
I can't even believe it beat 2008. People, if you can remember back that far, that was such an important race in Texas. There's so much focus, and there were still more people voting in this one than that one in 2008. How about as a share of the people who voted overall?
It's not just that this 2.3 million is such a large portion, the largest ever for a Texas Senate Democratic primary. It's that more people voted in the Democratic primary than the Republican primary. Look at this. Share of Texas midterm primary ballots. Look at this. The 2000s average. If you look at the 2000s, on average, you see this. Republicans outvote Democrats. More people choose the Republican ballot than the Democratic ballot in midterm primaries by 60% to 40%, a margin of 3-2. But look so far, Democrats, more people are actually choosing the Democratic ballot. This is extremely unusual, 51% to 49%. And so far, there have actually been more of the Republican ballots estimated to be counted than Democrats. So this margin may climb ever higher. And I will note that this is the first time Democrats outvoted Republicans in a midterm primary season in Texas since 2002.
NBC News is now characterizing and is projecting that this race will go to a runoff, that both Sean Harris, Democratic candidate, Clay Fuller, Republican candidate, will secure the top 2 spots. No one else can get up into that one of those top 2 spots. And these 2 candidates will advance to the April runoff. So again, that's NBC News' official characterization based on all the stuff that me and Adam have been working through right here. And again, they're not making any characterization about first, second place here, right?
Not place, just that Harris and Fuller will be the advancers.
They're just saying these will be your top 2 and no characterization on who will finish first or second. But again, absolutely possible here. In fact, if you just based on the vote trend that Adam has been sharing there, I think very good chance here that Sean Harris can finish in first place here.
But also, I wanted to discuss this, proving that we do care deeply about the thoughts of the Meidas Mighty and read the comments. I've noticed that there's a coalition of skeptics who feel that we propagate optimism at times. Now, trust me, I'm Scottish for one. Optimism, what's that? But I understand that the one thing we cannot do, and I have said it before, is underestimate Trump and this administration. I don't live and die by the polls, but it would be naive to ignore patterns also. Democrats are turning out in record numbers. Those are facts. They are being competitive in deep red districts. Those are also facts. Now, midterm elections are usually difficult for the party controlling the White House in general, but they are especially difficult when key voter groups start drifting away from the party. I would argue that pointing that out isn't propagating optimism at all. It is identifying areas that Trump has abandoned those who put their faith in him to propel him back to office. And these patterns matter because we're in a chamber where Republicans hold only a razor-thin majority, and even a handful of flipped seats could change control of Congress.
Democrats in New Hampshire also added to the party's string of special election wins last night. Democrat Bobby Boodham defeated Republican Dale Fincher to flip a state legislative seat in a district that Trump carried by 9 points in 2024. The Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee says nationally, Democrats have flipped 28 seats in red and battleground territory just since Trump's election.
It's fascinating to me that Democrats now talk about gas prices. Under Obama and under Biden, they tried to destroy the U.S. oil and gas industry. So we want prices to come down. I think, unfortunately, prices are going to be up for a while until this ends. But with Venezuela coming on, with American oil and gas coming on, with hopefully a positive resolution to this conflict, then prices will come down even further.
And when the person out here delivering the warning message isn't a Democratic strategist or liberal commentator, but the Republican Speaker of the House admitting publicly that his party has a problem with a crucial group of voters, again, it would be naive not to point out the through line. See, for Donald Trump, that's not just a messaging challenge. To me, it's a warning sign for the elections ahead.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.